Hi, good morning. This is Kristin Cole. I am the Agent Director here at Silvercreek Realty Group, and today we are going to go through our class about creating your business brand. This is one of my favorite classes. I love this topic. Hope to share some really helpful information with you today. We refer to a number of handouts in this class. You can find these handouts on the Silvercreek calendar in the calendar event for this particular class. If you are watching this later, can't find the handouts, whatever it may be, please shoot me an email and I will send an email to you with the handout packet. My email is Kristin, Kristin, at silvercreekrealty.com. Okay, let's go ahead and dive right on in. I need to adjust my little thing here. Okay, so today we are going to focus on 4 primary components of branding. The first is your brand identity, then your collateral. We'll talk a little bit about entities, and then compliance when it comes to marketing and branding. Okay, so what is branding? Maybe think about that for yourself. Branding is the process of creating a distinct identity for your business in the mind of your target audience. This is how you engage with your target audience, also called your target market is how I'll refer to it later in the class. And you use this to build recognition and trust, loyalty and preference with those that you hope will purchase from you, or in our case as realtors, use us as their real estate agent in a sale or purchase of a home. Branding creates a strong emotional connection, and that's what I want you guys to think about as we're going through the different components of this. What emotional connection are you making with your target market? So take a minute here, and I'd like you to think of your favorite company or a company that you feel really, really loyal to. I'm going to use an example of a conversation I had with a real estate agent not too long ago. And she said she will always fly Delta. No matter what, she will fly Delta. And hi, good morning, come on in. So this agent will always fly Delta Airlines because she trusts them. And so I dialed down with her, why is it, why Delta? And it ultimately came down to she uses Delta because of her knowing that she'll have a good travel experience. And just to fill you in, I started the class online, and so now I'm transitioning a little bit. But yeah, grab some handouts there. I'm not too far in. So maybe you can tell me, I'm just going to put you on the spot right here because it's just me and you in the classroom. What is a company that you're super loyal to?
Alaskan Fish Company.
The Alaskan Fish Company, why is that?
Because I'm comfortable with the product. I trust them and their product.
That is perfect. So you're very comfortable with them, you trust them. And that's when we start talking about branding, that's one of the primary things we look at is building that trust. There's an emotional connection there. You know you're going to have a good product. You know when you eat that product or cook, however you're using that product, it's going to be a good experience for you, for people that you're with. And so when we're thinking about our own branding in real estate, kind of the same type of thought process. What connection are we making with our potential customers? Okay, we are going to talk first about your target market. So there's like 5 handouts there. Yeah, I take a whole stack. Okay, so the first one is the stapled slideshow. And then the second one is this target market worksheet. So what we want to start with before we talk about our branding or start putting our branding into place is what is our target market, right? How we might communicate with one group of people might be different than another group of people. One thing that gets tricky when we're working on our target market as real estate agents is we need to be really careful of fair housing. And so, we need to be really careful to not say, my target audience is someone of this nationality or this religion or this familial status or any of the protected classes. And so we, in this class, we'll look at target market kind of more broadly, more generally, and we'll look at that more related to your niche market. So is there a property type or a niche market that you feel really drawn to or really comfortable with, or something that really excites you? For example, that could be, I really love working with people who are purchasing their first home. Or I find I have a lot of skills and strengths when I'm working with people who are, downsizing into, smaller homes. Or the investor market is my, great interest. I've invested in real estate myself, and I have some knowledge there, and it just really excites me. So how can you break down kind of where you see yourself focusing in real estate? Now, if you're new in real estate, of course, we're going to be grateful for any client that comes our way, right? Like we aren't going to say, oh, you're not an investor? Yeah, I'm not going to be able to work with you, right? No. If someone calls us and says, hey, can you show me property? More than likely, you're going to say, great, I'll pick you up in 20 minutes, right? Like, here we go. But when we're looking at our branding, we can still set up our branding in a way that speaks to where our skills, strengths, and interests really lie. And we want to look at that in a situational need type of way instead of a personal characteristic type of way. The next part of that is, what is the brand appeal for that niche market? What messages are these people going to want? What designs or branding aesthetics are going to appeal to them? And this can vary quite a bit. Like we talk, maybe about social media, okay? Like, well, I'll have agents come in and say, I know I need to do better on my social media. I really need to be setting up my brand and doing my marketing on social media better. And I'm like, oh yeah, it's a great opportunity. There's lots to be had on social media. And then I'll talk to them about what their target audience is. And they're like, well, what I found where I really thrive is I do a lot of estate sales, and I work with individuals who are maybe moving to assisted living or moving in with family members. And so then my next question is, okay, so your target audience, are they on social media? They're not, right, in that particular situation. And so then how much time and energy does this agent want to spend in their social media profile? Well, if they're looking to work with more estate sales and, moving into assisted living, whatever situations, probably not a lot, right? Yes, being, having a presence can be helpful because you'll gain business from other niche markets, but good things to think about. And then lastly, with your target market is, what are the needs? What are the needs of this target market that you're looking at? What types of services do they need? What types of communication styles are going to be best for them? If you're thinking about someone purchasing their first home, and what type of communication and support and attention are they going to need versus someone who's buying their 16th investment property, that probably is going to be vastly different, right? You're going to spend a lot more time with that first-time home buyer explaining the process and understanding the components of the sale and what it means to be a homeowner. Where this investor is like, I want hard facts, I want numbers, tell me what my investment return is going to be, and how quickly can we close with cash, right? So how you're going to navigate that is going to be quite a bit different. So in this class, to keep us in 1 hour, we're not going to go step by step through the target market worksheet, but this is for you to work on after the fact. So, and you can of course take notes on all of these as we go, but it will help you identify what is this niche market that kind of stands out to you. Sometimes there's locations like, I'm the Boise Bench specialized realtor, right? There can be value there in really knowing, parts of towns, neighborhoods, of course not from a fair housing risk standpoint, but if you know a lot about the Boise Bench, you can probably share where, the great coffee shops are and what's, maybe development that's happening in the area, and you might have some inside knowledge that can support a buyer or a seller in that area. And then what are their property needs and priorities? What are their goals? What's the brand appeal? What kind of designs, colors, styles are going to appeal to them? What communication needs do they have? And then what service do they need from you as the agent? And then what is your emotional connection? How are you connecting emotionally, right? Again, vastly different across situations, right? Like if we go back to our first-time home buyer and our investor scenario, that first-time home buyer, the emotional connection, the emotional appeal is really celebrating this huge milestone, right? Like this huge goal. It might be the only home they ever own, potentially. And so how are you really connecting there versus your investor who maybe is less emotionally invested in the property itself, but really excited about what's happening with their investment portfolio and how they're achieving next level goals that they have. So all good things to think about. Any questions on this? I'm going to log in here to my chat and see. Okay, and I don't have anyone chatting in yet. Okay, let's move on to our next section. And let's talk about the brand elements. So when you're thinking about your brand, what does that mean and what does that include? And so we are going to talk about a business name, a logo or symbol icon, your typeface, colors of your brand, the visual style of your brand, a tagline or slogan, and the voice or tone. Okay, so we're gonna do a little, maybe I have that. Oh, that's coming up. Okay, and I apologize. Can you tell me what your name is?
Jeff.
Jeff, nice to meet you. I'm Kristin. I'm gonna pick on you a lot today. I can pick on people online, but only if they chat me back. So, okay, business names. When it comes to a real estate business name, most agents don't have one, and that's totally fine. What's your last name, Jeff?
Perkins.
Perkins. Jeff Perkins Real Estate. Like that's, a very common one. Other people will create a business name and utilize that in their marketing, like Mountain's Best Realty, Silvercreek Realty Group, whatever. And that's fine too. Now, when you're looking at a business name, you want to first make sure it's something really easy to spell, pronounce, and understand. And something that makes sense in the real estate industry, right? Like we wouldn't want Alaskan Fish Realty, right? That wouldn't make sense. One of my favorite games with my husband is when we drive around town and then new businesses pop up and we're like, what? Like, you can't even pronounce that name, right? And you want to make this applicable to this niche market, target market that you've maybe reflected on. Consider your future growth. Is there a chance for your business to grow in different ways? And will that name sustain that growth? My husband and I, we own a wedding DJ company in town. And our first business name was Soundwave Music because we were DJs, right? Music, DJs make sense. Well, that worked until we started offering dance floors, event lighting, and photo booth. And then our name didn't make sense for us anymore. And so we had to do a complete rebrand into Soundwave Events. And that was a little painful. It's a lot of work to do a rebrand, especially once you're already established. We lost all of our reviews on Google. I don't know that happens anymore when you change business names, but that was really painful. And then we had to change our website and all of our marketing, and it's a big process. So consider future growth. You always want to follow NAR guidelines. I'm not going to go through this in detail, but in the handout packet there is the Realtor Trademark in Member Marketing handout, and that goes through all the do's and don'ts of that. And then it's always best practice to search the business name that you're considering to make sure it doesn't already exist. Even if that name isn't like legally registered to someone, if they are actively using that business name, that could cause a lot of problems for you, potentially legally down the road, but also just annoying. So there's another DJ company in Spokane called Soundwave something. And I had a bride call one day and she was irate. She was extremely angry about how her wedding turned out. And everything that she was saying to me was just like I could not connect I didn't know who she was, and I worked with every one of our brides. The DJs that she's mentioning are not my DJs. And it just was a very weird situation. And it turned out that she called us in Boise, but she meant to be getting in touch with this Spokane company. And so even though we were across state lines, that still caused some friction. And I mean, unfortunately, that could have ended in a bad review for our company, even though it wasn't our event, which no one ever wants. So consider that. The Secretary of State is always a great place to start when you're thinking about your business name. They have a business search, and you can search variations of the name and see, are they registered as a DBA to someone or an LLC or a corporation, so that you can plan accordingly in that way. Okay, next let's talk about your logo and your symbol. So again, not all real estate agents have a logo or a symbol, but it's a great way to brand yourself and to have consistent messaging going out to the public. Your logo is your full design. Often it is a design plus your business name, kind of all wrapped into one. Your symbol or your icon is just a little tiny piece of that. So on the handout called Brand Identity, you'll see the full Silvercreek logo, and then you'll see the Silvercreek symbol. So we're trying to build recognition through the logo and symbol use. And so when you see the S with Silvercreek Realty Group, that is very clear. That's our whole logo, right? And then if you just see the S, we want you to say, that looks familiar. Where do I know that from? And over time, that familiarity starts to sink in for people. And so we're going to do a little game. And I'm sorry to pick on you. We're going to see if you can guess all these.
Sure.
Okay. Facebook. Perfect. This one's harder. This is TikTok.
Never used it.
Yeah. Twitter, now X. John Deere. Shell. Pepsi. MasterCard. Audi. You're killing it. Albertsons. This one's a little harder. Yeah, Monster. You got that one. Where's my next one? Delta. No. This is a local one. I put in 2 local ones. This is Micron. Oh. We don't see Micron advertisements a lot, so it's not as ingrained in us, right? Target. Adidas. You literally got all but 2 of those. So this shows you the power of a symbol, right? We don't need any words here for us to know what these companies are. Now, are you, as a real estate agent, going to become an international brand that everyone's going to recognize like MasterCard? Probably not. But you can create a really consistent message by using your symbol, which, as part of your logo. Okay, let's talk next about the typeface. So the typeface is your fonts that you're using. A mistake that I see a lot of agents make is using a lot of different fonts and colors in their advertising. And if you have to pick 2 things to be consistent in when you're doing your social media posts and your flyers and your postcards and whatever materials you're putting out, if you can keep your fonts and your colors the same consistently throughout everything, it really makes it cohesive. So what I'll see is agents, today I'm super excited and I want these bright yellows and greens in my social media post. And then next week it's a little rainy out, and so I'm using gray and blue. And it doesn't create that consistent experience for the viewers. And so things aren't sticking as much. We want that repetition and that familiarity. Like when you talk about, your Alaskan Fish Company or any of the ones of those symbols we just saw, those are trusted brands and people can recognize them because they are consistent. You're not going to see that MasterCard logo in neon green, right? That would feel very weird. And we would, we would be very confused. So here are some typeface samples just to give you an idea. So I recommend using 2 typeface options. So one would be your handwriting, like more fancy font, and then one being a more concrete font. So let me show you examples. So Here is Moontime with Glacial Indifference. Moontime is also a font that Silvercreek uses as part of our brand family. And so you can see you've got kind of the handwriting font, and then you've got the type out font. Why am I not thinking of that word? Okay, here's another one. Nickanely and Inter. Hammers and Playfair Display. So you can see with all of these fonts how they kind of offset each other. We've got Roxborough and Montserrat, and they have a third one here, Sortsmill Gaudi. And then I wanted to share this one because I think it is a good example of a bad example. What you see here is a font, and I don't know about you, but I can't read what that font says. Montserrat is there as well, but a font that you can't read is one that you're probably going to want to avoid. Another tip for choosing your fonts is you want to choose fonts that are readily available. You don't want a highly specialized font that you're never going to be able to find on a computer because you're going to get frustrated. So, if you use like Microsoft Word or Google Docs or Canva, if you choose fonts that are in their default font families, that's just going to make your life a little bit easier. Canva, which is used a lot for marketing and branding items for agents, they have a very large font library. In fact, these are examples directly from Canva that they had already put together. So, good examples to check out. Okay, now let's talk about colors. So, I recommend choosing a palette of 3 to 5 colors that you use consistently across all of your brand materials. And think when you're trying to figure out like what color families do I want a blue theme, a green theme, a red theme, a black theme, like where do you want to draw inspiration from your brand? Right? You can draw inspiration from nature. You can draw inspiration from the seasons. You can draw inspiration from other companies that you really admire or respect. You don't want to copy their brand entirely, of course, but you can say, oh, I kind of like how they've got the blue thing going on here. These are colors that are used at Silvercreek. What you'll notice is that these color blocks have numbers associated with them. Every color in the entire color wheel has a hex or an RGB number, and that number is how you're going to stay consistent in all of your marketing and branding. So finding the number, there are ways you can do that online. You can do that on Canva. And interestingly, and you've probably noticed this, but different colors look different on different screens. And so if like what you're seeing here is these colors, if you came and looked at the computer monitor that I have right here, the colors look just a little bit different. And so this is also why the numbers are really important, because you don't want to match colors from one screen to another, because then if you go to print them, it's going to look weird. So always want to keep your numbers set. So oftentimes, like a black or a white or both will be part of the color family for a brand. We also use white and a charcoal. I didn't include those here. These are our primary 4 outside of the white and charcoal that we use.
What is that CCC consent? Is that gray or is that
That's
green?
gray. Yep, CCC is gray. Okay, here's some color palette examples. So here's like a blue sample. I also pulled these from Canva, so they've got, oh, I forgot that this was annoying. Okay, I have to click a lot. Here's like just a black, very simple color palette. Here's a green color palette, maybe if you're drawing that inspiration from nature. Maybe the first one is drawing inspiration from the ocean, I don't know, whatever it might be. Here is what I would say would be more of a summer palette. You've got an orange accent color in there. I wouldn't always use orange as a primary color in your marketing, but it would make a really nice accent. And then here's maybe a fall color palette. So colors appeal to different people in different ways. There is the whole psychology of color that you can also draw inspiration from. And a lot of different color palettes can work. There's not really restrictions for you on colors. You just want to make sure that what you're choosing, you're going to be able to be consistent with, and it's going to blend with the rest of your brand and what you're trying to convey, the messages you're trying to convey to your target market. don't overthink it. I've had agents spend a lot of time choosing colors, and it's not needed. Spend a little time, right? Like be intentional about what you want your brand to look like and what emotions that those colors are going to evoke. You can also always adopt the Silvercreek brand. That's available to you as well. So you're like, perfect, the blues and grays, that works great. Tell me the numbers, and we have all that info on the toolbox. So, okay, so there's some colors. All right, let's talk about your visual style. So your visual style, this is kind of like a mood board that you can put together to say, this is how I want to communicate my brand from photos. And if you're using Canva, making any advertisements that use any stock photography, you really want to try to keep your visual style the same. So these pictures here are what I pulled that I feel represents the Silvercreek visual style and what I tend to use in the slideshows we make for classes, the posts we put on the Silvercreek Agent Forum, any like agent-facing marketing materials that we provide for you. What are some of the words that you think of when you see this visual style? Business. Yeah, I've heard professional, I've heard clean, I've heard expert, like the, kind of an expertise in technology, bright. So if I threw in a picture here that was like dark wood colors with a really dark background, it would feel like a mismatch. It would be like, that all seems to work except for that picture. And so you can see how even that can evoke an emotion in someone. Like, that seems off. I don't know what's off about this, but it feels off. So consider that. And I do want to say, like, I'm giving you all of this technical information, but it's not for, like, it's not to make you overthink it all. Like, should I use this picture? Maybe it's not matching my visual style. No, done is better than perfect 9.9 times out of 10. So don't spend too much time, like, trying to figure out that one perfect picture that you want to use. Okay, you are part of your visual style. In real estate, we're a service-based business, right? You are selling yourself. People are hiring you. They're hiring your expertise. They're hiring your communication. They're hiring, how you're going to serve them through their purchase or sale. You are part of that visual style. So be sure to invest in yourself that way. And this is my plug to always have professional headshots. There's a joke in the industry about how you get a headshot in 1995 and you use it for the rest of time. I think headshots probably every 2 to 3 years is appropriate. And for $50, $100, $150, you can get a really decent collection of headshots that you can utilize in that time frame. So so definitely invest in that. We offer headshots at our Meridian office once a month. You can also contact a lot of the real estate photographers do headshots, or just search, headshots, Twin Falls, Idaho, or wherever you might be. Okay, now let's talk about taglines. Tagline, totally optional. I will see a lot of agents use a tagline, and I think there can be a good purpose for that. This is going to be a concise, powerful statement that reflects your value proposition and creates an emotional connection with your consumers. So ask yourself, what is the central purpose of my business? How am I highlighting my value proposition? What is it I'm providing for my clients? What emotional appeal are you making to your clients? Do you notice how emotional appeal just keeps coming up and coming up and coming up? There's a reason for that. Keep it short. This is like just a few words, one little sentence, and then use strong, vivid language. So I went to ChatGPT and I asked for 10-ish taglines for real estate agents. So here's what ChatGPT gave me. Your dream home, our priority. And some of these you'll find might feel a little cheesy, and that would be the reason why some people don't use a tagline, is they might feel like it's cliche or it's cheesy and it doesn't quite represent your brand, and that's fine. If this is feeling off to you, just, yeah, skip, move on. Okay, next is guiding you home every step. Opening doors to new beginnings. This would be a fantastic tagline for someone who's working with someone purchasing their first home, right? First-time home buyers is a new beginning. I guess any home purchase or sale could potentially be a new beginning. Your trusted partner in real estate. This sounds like something that would be really good for in working with investors or someone who's more of a business mind. Where your home journey begins. Experience excellence in every move. This feels pretty general to me for people who are maybe making cross-lateral moves, maybe to a home in another part of town, or maybe a relocation, someone who's maybe upsizing, needs more space, more land. It's implying that you might have multiple moves during your life, and so you can have excellence in every one of those moves. Helping you buy, sell, and succeed. Another great home investor tagline, right? Or someone who's even just starting out with kind of building a little, maybe it's their first rental, or they know that buying their first home is, the stepping stone to building, some greater wealth for themselves. Building futures, one home at a time. And that was all of them. So you can see you've got some options. You're welcome to use one of these. These are not copyrighted. I definitely got these from ChatGPT. So, or yeah, come up with your own or do some additional research on what might work for you. Okay, the next piece is your voice or your tone. So what communication style do you want to be providing to your target market? So I refer back to my DJ company quite a bit because I have a lot of experience in that company. But the DJ at a wedding is like this fun, bring the music, the party, right? So our voice for that company is very fun, lighthearted, conversational. In real estate, you might be that fun party realtor, and that could be your voice or tone. Or you might choose, depending on your target market, again, what do they need? What do they expect from you? Going back to the investor example, they might expect, professional, down to earth, knowledgeable, right? So how are you writing out your social media posts or your remarks on your listing that kind of fit back into that creates consistency from one item to the next? So some other ideas: comedic, conversational, formal, casual. I would say the voice tone that I use in my marketing internally in Silvercreek is more professional. I wouldn't say it's super formal, but definitely professional. Maybe sometimes more on the conversational side for me. Okay, any questions about any of this so far? And if you have questions online, feel free to put them in the chat.
Does Silvercreek have a tagline?
Our tagline is integrity, experience, commitment. And those are also our 3 values. So, yep, you'll see that. In fact, if you look out this window right here, it's right there on this board. So, okay. All right. Okay, we're going to move on to this handout called Brand Identity. So what you will see in this handout, the first 2 pages are Silvercreek's brand identity. You're going to see our business name. One thing that's interesting to note is that Silvercreek, we have a trademark on that word Silvercreek, and that's why we use the reserved R after Silvercreek. And that also gives us protection of that name throughout the United States. And we will see other companies use the Silvercreek, and then we kindly ask them to not. So you'll see our logo and our symbol, and you'll also see that our symbol can be multiple colors that are within our brand identity. Most of those logo symbols that we saw of those larger companies, they're not going to change the color of their symbol. But sometimes, like if I use the lighter blue symbol of Silvercreek, that's not going to look great if it's on a black background or a blue background. So we have a white one as well. So it's still the same aesthetic and design, but it's just white so it shows up. You'll see our colors. There are 5 colors here. Our tagline, integrity, experience, commitment. On the next page, you'll see our typeface and how those work together, the Lotto and the Moon Time. You'll see the visual style mood board, and then our voice tone, I have written here, professional, reliable, knowledgeable, approachable. Okay, the next 2 pages are designed for you to start working on your own brand identity. So you can start taking some notes about the business name. You know, if you've got an idea for a logo or a symbol, you want to use a key or a house or mountains. We see those quite a bit. Also on the logo symbol side, at Silvercreek, we have our graphic design team, and they can create your logo and symbol for you at no cost. So you do need to kind of do some brainstorming on what you want that to be like, but they'll send you a few options, and then you can make adjustments as you need to. And then you can also provide them the color choices that you choose, and so they can make sure that the colors of your logo fit within those colors. You can also go online and just search business color palette and come up with a bunch of ideas. Like the color palettes I showed, those are from Canva as some of their default color palettes. So sometimes people can do that hard work. It's interesting, like it doesn't seem like colors should be hard work, but the color wheel is so vast. And how many shades of purple are there? And there's cool purple and there's warm purple. And again, don't overthink it. Pick and go. Or go online and do some research. Have the internet help you. And then you've got space for your tagline. The next page is your typeface, your visual style, and your voice or tone. So this gives you some good follow-up work to do on that. Okay, questions? Any questions online? Okay, perfect. Well, let's move on. Let's talk about your collateral. So what is your collateral? Your collateral are your materials that represent your brand. So you have digital collateral and you have print collateral. So let's go through that. Let's start with print collateral. So first is your business cards. So when you think about your business cards, you're going to use your same font, your colors, your logo. If you have any additional photo or anything on there, your headshot potentially, or if you do like a picture of a house or something, that it'll all fit within your brand. Okay, next are your signs. So I don't know the percentage of agents that use the generic Silvercreek sign panels versus agents who have their own custom signs made. But if you do choose to have your own custom signs made, again, you'll want that to match your brand, right? So the colors and the fonts and all of that is going to stay consistent. You have your flyers. Our graphic design team can also make you a flyer template that you can use listing after listing after listing, or they can make you a flyer each time you have a listing. And when you submit the information, you can submit, these are my brand colors and here's my logo, and they'll make it all match, which is great. It just kind of takes the guesswork out of it for you. Any presentations. So if you have a buyer presentation or a seller presentation when you go and meet with them and want to go through details with them, all of that should also match your brand. And then any mailers you do. So if you do like a neighborhood farming letter or a postcard, again, you're looking at fonts, colors, any of your voice tone, all of that. Questions about any of these items? Okay, on the digital side, you have your website, and a few of these I'm going to dive into in a little more depth. You have your social media accounts, you have your email, videos, and your voicemail. So let's go through these in more detail. Okay, let's first talk about websites. So as a real estate agent, having a website can be an advantage. It gives a place for someone to come and learn about you. It creates some credibility. Like if you have a business that doesn't have a website, you're like, why? Right? Like we're just in the age now where everyone and everything has a website. It's not required though, and there's multiple ways you can set that up. So the first and easiest way to create your website is to use a brokerage service. So at Silvercreek, we have 2 platforms available for our agents. One is called KV Core, soon to be called Bold Trail, and one is called Lone Wolf. And these are programs that on the front end, they're built as a property search website. They are both integrated in all the MLSs throughout the state of Idaho, along with Eastern Washington and Western Montana. So kind of the bordering the two sides of Idaho. So potential clients or clients can go on there, they can search for property, see listings, they're all connected with the MLS. And these sites also do lead capture. So after a certain amount of time of them browsing on your site, it's going to ask them to create an account, and then it's going to ping you and say, hey, you have a new lead. And on the back end of the site, you can log in and manage it as a CRM. So keep track of your leads, input your clients or database, stay in touch with them with emails, texts, videos, things like that. So every service is kind of different for pricing. These services, our Lone Wolf product is $20 a month and our KV Core product is $60 a month. So they're both worth investigating for sure. Okay, the next option is you can go to one of these companies like KV Core or Lone Wolf and you can purchase the product from them directly. You will typically pay considerably more. For KV Core, I know that it is about $600 a month if you go to them directly and you do not go through the brokerage. So you get a substantial discount when you sign up through the brokerage. Now, it's a brokerage account, so if you were to leave Silvercreek, you're not going to be able to take all of that with you, right? You'll be able to export your contacts, and if you have your own website domain that you've forwarded onto this site, you'll be able to take that, but you're going to have to start using a new service at some level. Now, if you go third party and just get it yourself, you're going to pay a lot more, but if you're, moving brokerages, you'll be able to, take that with you a little more seamlessly. You, on a third-party integration like this, you will only be able to have property search for the MLSs you belong to. So if you are a member of Intermountain MLS, that is all that your potential clients will be able to search property for. On the brokerage site, we belong to all Idaho MLSs and Western Montana and Eastern Washington, and that's why all of our agents have access to property search for those. So consider that. The third option is to build your own site. Some people are kind of a whiz with technology and want to put together their own site and set it up however they want. This can be time consuming, it can be costly, whether you do it yourself or you hire someone to build a custom site for you. You will have additional fees for bringing in the IDX, which is the MLS property search. And again, you will only be able to pull in IDX feeds for the MLSs that you belong to. So your highest level of searchability, customization, and low cost is to go with a brokerage service, but multiple options are available. Questions about this? Okay. Next, let's talk about your email. So at Silvercreek, we do not provide an email account to our agents. So we want you to be able to own and manage your email account. If you had, if you joined a team or something and they provided an email account for you, that's totally fine. You can definitely use that. We always recommend setting up a forward so that anything that comes through your team email, you get a copy in your personal email account as well, even if it's in a filter that's hidden and doesn't hit your inbox. And the reason is because if you're using a branded email, like a team email that you don't own, then if you were to leave that team, you will lose the email and all of your emails. And it's very difficult, sometimes near impossible, to forward out emails from an email that's, they're taking back. So having a forward set up will just make your life a lot easier in the future. Okay, you can use a generic service like Gmail. Set up your jefftherealtor@gmail.com or whatever you might want to be. You can create a custom domain email. So if you went and bought idahosrealtor.com domain, okay, and that's your website address. First, you can take that and redirect it to one of the website options that we talked about, but you can also set up to have an email set up. So it could be john@idahosrealty.com or whatever it might be. And then you fully own that email, but it is also branded to your business. We always recommend that you create a custom email signature that includes your information, your contact information. Sometimes I'll get asked, should I put my email address in my email signature? Obviously, they already have my email because they emailed me. And this is just a fun little thing that came up. A few weeks ago, I needed to send contact info of a partner to an agent. And so I went and just copy pasted their email signature, but their email address wasn't in there. And so it made it really difficult for me to share or make a referral, because then I had to go back and find the email and then add it. And it was just extra steps that if your email signature is complete, people can easily share that with someone else, which is great. Easier referrals. And then stay organized in your email. I know it's hard. We all get a lot of emails every day. Realtors especially are bombarded with emails. I give you permission to unsubscribe to anything except anything that comes from the brokerage, the National Association of Realtors, Idaho Realtors, your local association, or your MLS. Almost everything else is going to be advertisements. But try to stay organized. There's ways to set up filters on your email so that priority emails are being seen first and things like that. Some of our best agents miss important things because they're not referencing emails. So be sure to set up a good plan for yourself. Okay, questions here? Okay, let's talk about voicemail. Voicemail is also part of your brand. It is a way that people are connecting with you, and their experience with your voicemail does give them an emotional response. When you call someone and it says, "I'm so sorry, this mailbox is full, goodbye," I get an emotional response. I'm frustrated, right? I'm annoyed. That's not the kind of reaction that I want my potential client or my client to have, or my referral partners. I want them to know that they can reach me, that we're in business. Make sure that your voicemail says that you're a realtor. It is shocking to me how many agents, their voicemail, "Hey, this is Kate, leave me a message." No, this is Kate Smith, realtor at Silvercreek Realty Group, right? You want to be telling everyone, "I'm a realtor, I'm a realtor, I'm a realtor," right? That's how they start to remember. You do need to have your brokerage name if you're going to be mentioning that you're a realtor. So if you're going to say, "This is Kristin Cole, realtor," I need to say with Silvercreek Realty Group. If you're on a team, "This is Kristin Cole, realtor at the Mike Brown Group at Silvercreek Realty Group." That is a Idaho state guideline that's required. Check your voicemail regularly. No one likes listening to voicemails. I know this for a fact. One tip for you is that you can use a service online that will convert your voicemails into an email or a text message. And that saves a lot of time. I have not listened to a voicemail for about 10 years because they all come to me as emails. And that is super helpful for me because then I know the best way to respond if there's just information I need to provide, and I don't miss anything because I don't want to push whatever button to listen to my voicemails and sit through the long voicemail messages. So check that out. Make sure you delete your voicemails if you're getting voicemails so your voicemail box isn't full. This can also be connected to your data storage available on your phone. Some phones, I don't know the secret sauce, but some phones, if you get up against your how much storage space you have on your phone, it might say that your voicemail box is full, even though it's not, because there's no room on your phone for that voicemail to save. So that's an interesting thing I recently learned. But yes, make sure you manage your voicemail. If you're going to be out of the country, away, out of signal, it's best practice to create a voicemail message that reflects that so people know what to expect when they call and leave you a message. All right, next let's talk about social media. All right, so social media, it's not right for everybody. It is an opportunity to connect with your sphere, to stay in front of people, to remind people that you're a realtor. It is a giant networking event on the internet. If you're going to be using social media, first, clarity. Make it clear who you are, what you do, and how to reach you. I will tell you that I have found myself looking up businesses on Facebook more and more, because sometimes, the primary reason is because I know how Facebook is laid out, and I know where to go on a business page to look for a phone number or an email or a web address. And then I don't have to be searching on Google for that, especially if they don't come up on Google Maps. Obviously, if they come up on Google Maps, that's easiest for me, but they don't always have an email. So anyway, Facebook provides room for your phone number, email, and your website. Again, we're making an emotional connection. We want to make it easy for people to find us. As a real estate agent, you no longer have anonymity. You are public on Zillow and Realtor.com and every property search website under the sun. And making it easy for people to contact you on social media will work to your advantage because you want them to call. You want them to ask questions. So make it easy for them. Consistency. You want to keep your branding, your profile pictures, all of that consistent across your platforms. You want someone who sees you on Facebook to also see you on Instagram and say, oh yeah, I think I follow him on Facebook. So keep that consistency and don't change your profile picture and things frequently, right? It confuses people. You're kind of like starting over. And then constancy. Make sure you set and keep a regular posting schedule. Whatever makes sense for you. It's not the same for everybody. Next Thursday, our agent training class is, which I believe is September 12th, is creating a social media posting plan. How to make a plan for posting on social media, what to post, best practices, so that you can, create a system for yourself moving forward. Questions on this? Okay. All right, let's take a look. I have 2 sample brand kits. In full disclosure, I downloaded these pictures from Etsy.com. There are companies that will sell brand kits for you. On Etsy, you can find a lot of these so that you don't have to do the heavy lifting, right? So that's a resource for you. Okay, so this is Harper Madison, and she has her brand kit here. Okay, so tell me what you notice about her brand.
Like color consistency.
Yep, color consistency.
And style consistency.
Style, yep. What kind of emotions does it evoke? Or words come to mind when you look at this? That's totally fine. When I look at this, I think like whimsical almost. Like I think, like if I'm looking at this, like who's her target market? Like it feels, she would not have a male versus female target market, but it feels a little more on the feminine side. That might reflect who she is, right? It's clean, it's bright, like lots of white space. She's got the little house with the leaf coming up on the left. That's her symbol. And then her full logo. She's got a couple variations of her logo. So she's got the house with Harper Madison on the side and then the house with Harper Madison in the middle. Okay, so now look at this brand. Totally different. Totally different. In what ways do you notice that it's different?
Just a lot more visual impact.
Yeah, visual impact. Definitely more bold, right? The colors are more like depth of color. With, yep. This one's kind of small, but you can see there's a little house, business name, so the little symbol would be the house. But at a glance, you can see with both of these, they're still consistent within themselves, right? Like 2 completely different brand styles based on your personality, your target market, what speaks to you. It can work with the consistency put together and all of that. Okay, I'm going backwards. Okay, let's move on now and talk about best practices. So there are some guidelines, some regulations around marketing and branding that we want to make sure to emphasize so that you are covering all your bases and are protected from any issues that might come up. Why are you breaking? It is not working. Okay. What happened? Okay. Best practices. Okay, first is using your brokerage name. So you want to use your full brokerage name in all of your marketing or advertising. If you are doing something and you're like, I wonder if I'm supposed to use my brokerage name here, the answer is yes. Like if it's a question, the answer is yes. This is state law, has to happen. On your website, the brokerage name needs to be prominent, visible on every page. It can't be itty bitty down at the bottom in the footer, right? Like it needs to be prominent. You can promote yourself, your business, prominently as well. And then on social media, it needs to be within one click. So if you have a post that's like, check out this home inspiration, let me know if you have any real estate questions. Best practice is just to put your name and your brokerage in that post, or they should be able to click one time and see your name and your brokerage together. Okay, next is your legal name. So you must use your legal name as it is registered with the Department of Licensing on all of your advertisements. No exceptions with one click away on this one. If you have a nickname or a shortened version of your name, if you want to use that shortened version in your marketing, you have to register that with the state. They have to have it in their records that you go by a shortened version. Otherwise, you need to use your full name. Okay, next. Okay, client confidentiality. So when you have a representation agreement with your client, you are committing to confidentiality during the transaction and after the transaction. So be sure that you are maintaining that. If you are excited about your closing with your buyer and you took a picture with them at closing and you want to put that on your social media, you must have permission from them. It's not a freebie. It is part of their confidentiality. Fair housing, follow all of the fair housing laws. Some local areas have additional fair housing laws. So if you're not aware of those, check into that. The fair housing, is nationwide, and then state and local code can reflect changes to that. Not make it more lenient, but make it more strict. And then the code of ethics through NAR holds us to a higher standard, so be aware of that as well. The realtor with the R symbol, include that in your messaging, and then understand the proper way to use the trademark, and that is in this handout that I provided. And then keep your content neutral on social media. Be careful. Like I said a minute ago, you have no more anonymity as a realtor. You are a public figure now in a way. So be mindful of what you're sharing in public or in private, because all of that can come back on you, and we are held to a higher standard because of the code of ethics, and it might affect who your clients are going to be, right? I'm happy to help a client that doesn't have similar views on life in the world, right? Like, we don't want to turn people away or violate any fair housing laws. Always be honest and truthful. If you're sharing something about a home or a neighborhood or the industry, make sure it is verified and true. With all of the industry changes, it's amazing the number of posts that have gone around that weren't accurate. Or posts were going around like, this is how it is in Idaho, when that might have been in another state how it was being implemented, but it wasn't true for Idaho. So just be careful. Like if you're saying, this neighborhood has a community pool, make sure you know for sure that it has a community pool. Be honest and truthful. And then always obtain permission. If you're going to promote someone else's listing or use photos from another listing, anything that isn't yours, right? Of course, get permission. Written permission is best, even if it's a text message or an email, just so you have something to go back on, but just make sure you've got it. Any questions about these best practices? Okay. All right. Well, that wraps up branding. If you ever have any questions, you can always reach out to me. I'm happy to help. I'm happy to take a look at your branding as you're working on it and give some input or insight. And yeah, I appreciate you guys tuning in online and being here in person, and hope to see you at the next class.
Thanks.
You're so welcome.